Works for me.
See, now I do miss my sweatshirt.
There's hot water.
They decided to hide all their cups.
I think they're doing all the cleaning. You can have this tea if you want. I didn't have anything of it at all yet.
There's a thermos. There's a thermos in the red box.
There's some mugs down there on that shelf
Where?
out here. Keep going to your left.
Okay.
I've been bringing my own mugs lately, but I forgot we were gonna. Oh, sweetheart.
It's an occupational hazard. If you talk about the end of seeking enough, then people just stop seeking, and then you don't have much,
No one to talk
no
about.
one to talk to about anything. Yeah, it's a lonely, lonely business.
Hold it a minute. No, look on that.
Is our friend Tom coming back?
Probably. Maybe not today. Paul might turn up tomorrow.
Oh,
Who's the call?
Another person I brought along tonight. I think he's having end of the world angst again.
man. Yeah,
It's an ongoing thing.
that's a rough one, especially since it's true.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Let's go with it.
Breaking up is hard to do.
Breaking up is hard to do. Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Boy, I've got a bunch of tired, cold people here.
Yeah,
Yep.
camp out.
That's what happens at the tail end of the winter when people are just, I can't do it anymore.
I miss those fires we used to have.
Yeah, we used to have fires.
Can't have them anymore, huh?
No one said that. I
Well,
just,
I think it's probably better not to,
well,
because it'll smell all the room up.
yeah, the whole flu thing and the
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah, I'm happy to light 5 more candles all around.
that's warming.
Yeah, and then I had some fake plastic twigs too.
Oh, shoot.
I like that. It's nice.
It's a nice bubble ringtone. I think that was just hot a moment ago. It might not need another infusion.
Yeah, I well, it's empty, I guess.
I see.
I really don't know what's happening here.
It's good not to know.
Better off not knowing.
I mean, what do we really know? Nothing.
Whoa, that's some really heavy stuff. Do we really know?
Punch me in the jaw.
I don't want to listen to the news anymore.
Oh, God.
I just want Trump to be president, because I just want to see everything, I want to see what happens.
Freaky.
Much more ridiculous.
The idea that there's no people here is freaky
No people where?
here. The idea that there's actually no people, that this is just one, freaks me out.
It should. The idea should freak you out.
But I don't, but, you know, yeah, right, the idea. But
Yeah.
when the experience is different, if there's some, whatever,
Whatever.
It's always good to end,
sentence with whatever.
yeah, just trail off into
So
the
it's
void.
recent, it's recent.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like,
Like whatever. Yeah, you can get a lot of mileage. Like whatever.
Bro.
the idea of singularity, like this Borg, is creepy.
The idea, oh, like the Borg, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
but not
Yeah.
exactly like the Borg, because I don't really don't know what the Borg is. I don't really know that movie or that reference.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the idea of one.
the idea of one is creepy. Why? Because it'll molest little children in a schoolyard?
It seems to.
Yes?
Yeah, it does a lot of things, right?
Yeah, apparently so.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, what
We
is it?
Don't even try to figure it out. Just
So-
roll with it.
So this is making me view Trump in a different way now. If Trump is just a part of,
The great singularity, yeah.
then it's just a reflection of part of me, and that's really scary.
Yeah, that's right. That he could possibly represent even a few cells of your own. It's like, oh,
It's just looking at his face is enough to.
yeah.
It's hilarious with the white around his eyes, but I mean, and
Does seem-
the orange on the cheeks and.
I laugh. It's like
Yeah,
he must just
actually,
lay in the
right,
tanning bed all day with
I
goggles
hadn't
on.
thought about that, but I recognize it as soon as you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's, you think yeah, the orange and the white.
All right,
I
look,
mean, not
I
now.
think it's from
we
like
can't
the
talk
Sun
about
Camp
Trump or I'm
machine
leaving.
where these
Stop.
things-
It's enough of that going on.
That's why we need to
Every
talk
channel.
about it.
Yeah.
Oh, can't believe you like- Yeah, well, in one way or another, it's the makeup. See, the makeup not covering it up.
Right.
The spray tan, they put those little goggles on.
That's what I mean. That's what comes to my mind. He lays there in the tanning bed with his little goggles on until he's nice and orange. No, I watched a couple of minutes of Cruz doing the town hall on
Oh.
CNN last night. And in terms of, trying to wrap my head around, I didn't call it singularity at that time, but that it's just a part of something I don't know. Gotta get bigger and badder and kick everybody's ass and just prove how tough I am. All in the name of God and faith. Yeah. See, that makes the idea of no people just not creepy. It's actually comforting because then he's not real.
Yeah.
there's a fee. There's a fee for the involuntary cultivation of dispassion. The media beams out messaging, and we naively think that the media is conducting itself in a responsible, neutral, democratic, educational manner by reporting on salient events or geopolitical movements so that a well-educated constituency can conduct itself in a ethical and sustainable manner as a representative democracy. But the media has been taken control of by influential forces that are not dedicated to its, you could say, original charge, and are using the power of concentrated broadcasting to pollute the atmosphere of human susceptibility, a human credulity, human naivete. So it's a violence that's being perpetrated.
It is.
The fee?
Yes, the fee is everyone and everything you've once known.
50 price.
It's a very high price. The fee is the entirety of the illusory stage play of what you call your life. Well, yeah, it's Borg-like. It's definitely Borg-like. But you see, the Borg got tripped up. You know, they may have been one mind as they were assimilated biomechanically, but they were led by a, benevolent dictator
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
at the head of their consciousness, who was a nefarious, opportunistic woman.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So at first I wanted to
Very
side
affectionately.
with the Borg, thinking that perhaps they had achieved an enviable state of consciousness being run by a woman. But it didn't turn out that way.
I have no memory what the word is now that you're describing it. I don't remember. I'm just sitting,
I did have a
fading
fascinating
in and out of heaven.
Yes.
memory of something, an episode where they came down, but surprise, it's another villain.
Yeah,
Villainess.
and the Borg were portrayed, as a villainous,
Yeah.
intrusive anti-consciousness that wanted to rob you of your autonomy and individuation,
Yeah, whether you
so
like
that you
it
would
or not.
become biomechanically assimilated into a mind that was no longer your own.
That's kind of like what's going on.
I don't know. It's
You're crazy.
the analogy is, it's in your hands.
We too much politics. That's absolutely what's going on. We work in a diner. It's what's going on. I'm telling you. It's it.
mean, the Borg's fun to play with. The Matrix, I think, is great fun to play with, even though it's kind of twisted and, all of these analogies are fun, but
Yeah.
they, I guess danger is taking them so literally or so strongly that you actually believe the story of these goofy things
Yes.
rather than it for what it is.
Yeah. The yogic cessation of identification with illusory impulses is not a re-identification with something
Yeah.
else or other. Yeah. So it's not like you're under threat of an assimilation. Though I think it can be felt that way. Why not?
Well, we are continuously living in our own assimilation into this
That's right.
this
You're
mind body.
already dwelling in a rather profound, highly pixelated, dynamic portrayal
Yeah.
of, the willful self, the individual, body, mind, living anecdotally and hypothetically through wave after wave of projection. That's the fucking Borg. We're trying to go Borg free.
Well, sometimes I wonder how we. It almost sounds like that we're trying to go to death while we're still alive, and whatever that means, and you can only conjure things up as far as what that means. But at least it would seem to me that any of this mental activity and physical activity, all that, boom, it's gone, supposedly. I mean, you would think. So whatever happens on a different level, if anything happens,
We're speaking hypothetically about death.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Best we can do, best I can do, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to sort it out.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm an expert on that.
Right.
You just go to sleep one night and die. You just want to know. Like you, Jane, anyway.
Well, if you're lucky.
That's fine.
It's fun to see where your mind or interest might wander. If, let's say you're not consumed with doing something about your personal suffering. If you're not consumed by distraction and you're neutral, sanguine, perhaps even, quietly nourished, where do you wander?
Mhm.
Do you wander into some kind of confusion or distraction or, activity or projection? And if we were to imagine something that could or would genuinely nourish us, nourish the soul, well, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it have us do? So even that which we might hunger for or pursue secularly, spiritually, or in any other manner? What is it that we think we're after? How will we know when it has arrived and arrived to stay? And would it feel like what this feels like? Or would it feel like something other than what this feels like? Would you, after reading 100 books and watching 100 interviews and sitting, in front of 100 so-called teachers or purveyors of non-dual or dualistic spiritual wisdom, who or what would you align with?
Too many choices, man.
You think? Right?
When you got ultimate choices,
Yeah.
you can't move.
Pretty frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be. You can end up pretty frozen, or you roll the dice and feel somehow karmically drawn to a person, a place, or a teaching of some kind, and hope that by engaging with it, you made the right choice. You made the optimal selection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will turn out to be another waste of your time and money and devotion, and you'll begrudgingly or happily move on to the next stimulation.
Well, if you try to chart it, it seems like it's just fraught with peril. You're just constantly on a trip of trying to chart it. You know?
Trying to chart what?
Well, your good fortune, your peace and harmony, basically. If you try to engineer it, in a world of choice, you won't decide. Likely,
Or you may decide and you may turn out to be satisfied for a while, or you may decide and turn out to be dissatisfied, either shortly or a little bit down the road, in which case you'll be invited to have another choice, right? About what you might align yourself with to optimize what it is you think you're after.
Yeah.
Well, can't you just sort of align yourself with something? Or I'll say that I've observed that, let's say, I'm having a menopausally hormonal emotional day, and maybe there'll be a little bit of binging, because YouTube comes through the TV. So maybe it'll be Marianne or Alan and things, and it's all over the place.
No.
And by the end of like a day or two or something with that in the background or giving it attention, maybe, I'm aligned with this for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I start doing something, then something else comes on, and it's like, oh, that's really great for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
But then when it's all kind of said and done, it's just
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was all that
Yeah.
shit,
Short-term art
Right.
therapy.
I mean,
but for like 10 minutes, it was good.
well, it's kind of hypnotizing, I think. I mean, isn't it kind of hypnotizing? I mean, are you really there or is it just, I don't know, I find I can go on automatic and I'm not happy when I do that.
When you
I'm not
Give it.
unhappy. I'm just saying the things, like these things that come up watching a TV show, going on Facebook, I mean, I have to say, I feel good when I actually get down to doing my work. That makes me happy. But I fight myself tooth and nail against doing that. It makes me feel best, like at the end of the day, when I face the daily challenges that I have to do. But I'm so lousy at it. I'm a lazy bum. I just give in totally easily.
But see, I don't get that, I guess, drawn into it for anyone.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You mean drawn into pleasant distractions?
Or no, like the
compulsion.
past and the way and the,
I see.
Well, there's some energy to it in my case because I'm actively avoiding things that I have to do.
Yeah.
oh, well, yeah, sometimes it's a distraction.
Yeah, you're just the everyman tortured soul of every employee the world over.
Yeah, I know. I tend to harp on that.
It's a curious feeling tone.
Or do that and then read something on Night Sky and it's like, okay. Kind of get you out of it. Anyway, whatever.
This is, an interesting, call it quicksand of consciousness. If you, let's say, soften, not through, vow or choice or deliberateness. If you soften with respect to motive, interest, context, content, getting things accomplished, practical or exotic. If you run out of the familiar inertial force of yourself, what do you discover? And as you discover it, what voices might or may arise to encourage you to discover further or to set up some kind of roadblock, some kind of distraction that keeps you in the game as the durable center of your own consciousness. I mean, we are operating ephemerally and etherically. We don't nearly have as much, call it, willpower or insistence as we'd like to believe. It's like early on, you know what suffering feels like, and it really sucks. And so you can articulate what it is that's bothering you and what it is you'd like to happen or not happen to ameliorate, your existential or experiential discomforts. But as you travel down a road that has a soft shoulder, you start to lose the urgency of who it is that you are and what it is that you do and why and what you expect to get from it.
So the will just goes south anyway. Because that's sort of
Yes.
who you are, in a sense. It's how you take yourself.
Yeah, I
As
think,
this-
yes, I think that you could make a discovery. It's not meant to be a universal generalization, right? It's just something that shows up on your way to wherever, from wherever, to wherever, nobody knows. You might discover a certain softening of what we might call the urgency of will, self-will. Less of a demand is placed on yourself by yourself. Less of a demand is placed on circumstances, events, manipulative behaviors that steer the outcomes in your so-called favor. And you're going to be invited, if not confronted, with not one, but many, many opportunities to get used to that. this drags itself along for the ride. You could say till the very last moment of disengagement from, right, fantasy. Subtly, more subtly, and more subtly, it drags itself along for the ride. On the adventure of, some kind of, call it spiritual dissolution, which is a different way of feeling it than spiritual fulfillment.
Exactly.
Because nobody knows
Yeah.
what spiritual fulfillment is.
Yeah, I know. Spiritual dissolution. That's going to throw the great majority of people into
Well, that's why it's
Yeah, weirdness.
refused.
space. Yeah,
That's why it's refused.
sure it is. It's funny. I mean,
You
because,
don't
know,
keep going back to landmark course after landmark course after landmark course because you've committed yourself to a path of spiritual dissolution. You keep going back to course after course after course because somehow you've misunderstood the words of the founder, or so did he in the conduct of his, institution. And now you think that it's some kind of spiritual acquisition that you may be interested in or after, or some kind of cleverness, behavioral cleverness, financial cleverness, libidinal cleverness, investing cleverness, right? Domestic gross product, environmental cleverness. Yeah. You listen to one might listen to interviews from time to time, and the accomplished realizer, whether feigning it or taking it seriously, makes it appear as if they stumbled into an event or a finality of some kind which released them from something else, and so there's no destination, and that's the destination. There's no destination, and stop. I mean, right, the vocabulary that's used by so many different teachers and personas gets a little gnarly. It becomes a little strange. It's either fetishized because you've heard it too many times, or it sounds like it should be the right thing to say under the circumstances of, Advaita.
it loses its entertainment value. That's for damn sure.
It does. I mean, how many so-called enlightened celebrities must one listen to? And, what does it do for you? Besides being a kind of, spiritual voyeurism.
Yeah.
It gets very frustrating. I know that a few weeks ago, I'm like, okay, you know what? I just want to get a good book, As I reread The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I watched Luther, which is a pretty dark series. You know how Dexter was.
I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it. Isn't that a good show?
You've seen Luther?
He's the cop, the big, really big black cop.
Oh,
And
Oh, the British actor guy.
British actor,
Yeah.
yeah. He's so strong as an actor. I mean, he's just has such a presence. So that's great fun. But, you know, of course, then last night I'm laying in bed, woke up at 4 o'clock and to go back to
Good
sleep,
time to meditate.
thinking of all these gruesome scenes of things that I was either reading or
Uh-huh.
watching.
Why do you torture yourself?
It's one extreme to the other, you know, that's just what I do. That's who I am.
That's how I roll.
That's how I roll.
4 a.m.
And
Gruesome images.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
I'm sick and tired of all this stuff. I even went back to Rick Archer just to see what new things were going
Just
on.
because you like
Oh,
poking pencils in your eyes.
Watch The Walking Dead. You'll have such a
Oh,
good time.
I hate that stuff. I really hate
I
that
do
stuff.
too, but you'll really have such a good time.
Maybe if I'd latch onto it, but I've always avoided that
Well,
stuff.
take heroin and then watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So did you find anything to tickle your fancy on Rick Archer's site?
I'm trying to remember who. Well, I guess actually the last one I listened to was Tony Parsons. There might have been
Mhm.
smatterings of some others, but
Yeah,
I didn't stick with it.
right.
So Tony Parsons was, I mean, Rick Archer was on his best behavior and, you know, trying.
Well, that's nice.
But he,
Sign of maturity on his part.
yeah, he was, well, you know, it's that British accent that brings the best out.
I see.
Is this an
Sit up
interview?
straight.
Yeah.
Yes, the interviews are hard to watch because there's interviewers, good interviewers
Yeah.
are so far and few between.
Well, Rick Archer, this is Buddha de Gascon.
Okay.
And so Rick Archer is basically, he's just going to go through the same list of questions every time.
Okay.
That's what it seems to me. There seems to be a difference between the tickle that you originally get on some of these things, which I would get all the time with Eckhart Tolle, you know,
Yes.
for example.
Mhm.
And then listening to it for about the 30th or 35th time.
Uh-huh.
That tickle starts to diminish.
That's right.
It's like, yeah, okay, all right,
Yes.
you know.
Right.
So, you know, as far as what to do when you're driving, you know, it's either silence.
Mhm.
Well, I used to always listen to podcasts. It's silence, music, radio, sometimes a podcast. I still do real time with Bill Maher.
Yes.
You know, I don't even open I Am That very much. It still sits on my bedside stand.
Wow. Uh-oh.
Oh, yes.
Poor Nirsagadata is shouting from between the pages of your closed book. Open me. Open me. Let me into your life. It's a slippery slope. We rely on the interviewees and the interviewers, though most of them leave a lot to be, whatever that word is, desired. We rely on these teachings as a context for putting ourselves in a position, in a condition, as a consequence of things, voluntary or involuntary. You know, the Buddhists and the Christians and the Hindus and the Muslims, everyone uses shame in one form or another to beguile you with the mirage of choice, if not poor choice. As if by virtue of what you do, don't do, believe in or don't believe in, you are the captain of your own suffering. which is not true, depending on how deep you want to go into looking at, right? The consummation and gestation and birth of self.
So why would the Buddha give us a prescription? The prescription is not more cowbell.
Yeah.
The prescription.
If he had said more cowbell, wouldn't
Then-
the world be a happy place?
Then we could.
If only the Buddha had simply said more cowbell, like Christopher Walken, the entire world would just be rocking.
But I mean, he's talking about amelioration, you know. I mean, nothing wrong with it. But
Yeah.
this is the deep spiritual truth. You're suffering, you know. There's a way out. Do this and that and that and that and that and do it the right way. And
Shades.
good luck, man.
Suffering.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that Buddha was multi-dimensional, multivalent in his capacity to render teaching, amelioration, empathy, compassion, entrainment into different ways of feeling the nature of being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
its constituent disappointments.
Yeah. Well, and of course, I'm polarizing my expression there. Yeah.
For good reason. Most of what's been adopted as Asian, Indian,
Right.
Buddhism, and Western Buddhism falls under the influence of the more materialistic or dualistic aspects of the canon, of the Pali canon, and you know, everything that has ensued. You don't think that consciousness is going to let you off the hook so easily, right? If only by virtue of the birth of the Buddha, everyone that would take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha would be good to go. But you don't find that. You find crazy people like ourselves running toxic and dysfunctional tapes of attention-seeking and control dramas under the guise of something called compassion. Yeah, so we are, you know, we're bananas. And you see that same politics occur in Indian holy places like Belur Math, the surviving institution inspired by the life and teachings of Ramakrishna, Sharada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. You just see another
So good.
pile of, indulgence and control and authority and conformityism. And then you have thousands of exotic, diversions that take you into the realm of influential, toxic narcissists that run various institutions and or retreats or belief systems that enroll you in the ancient wisdom of the masters so that you can become another card-carrying zombie.
Yeah, it keeps on. That's what keeps them making it in business, right?
Absolutely. Sure it does. Why shouldn't it, right? I mean, we're looking at the you could say natural, as if there were such a thing, organic byproduct of the movement and functioning and representational accusation of mind, restless mind, suggesting a reality, a context and a content, a password, and all the hazing that you have to go through to become a member of the fucking club. Yeah. And what's our measure of success? Typically, the measure of success that we bring to it is looking enviably, longingly, and jealously at, let's say, the life of someone that claims to be, or might actually be, self-realized, whatever that means. I mean, was Nirsagadata really a big win? You know, twirling around in circles a couple times a day, doing devotional chants, you know, out of, you could say, respect and affection for his own lineage and ancestry. And then catharting and cavorting and gesticulating wildly at people, talking about the nature of the absolute, which had to have been completely enthralling, if not terrorizing. You know, and we're like, you want to be like him? I want what she's having. Right? The famous line in Harry and Sally.
Right. I can just imagine being on that second floor where he had his sauna or whatever, and asking a question and having him come down on you. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I know. Who could even take it? Yeah.
The din of the taxi cabs and the rustle of the people.
Talk about a bardo.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, this is what's so, I mean, I think it's great, you know, to look into the rhythm of his, you know, so-called spiritual and secular life, either when he was on camera or, you know, lying around being himself. And he's a great example of what we were talking about earlier, suggesting that there's a fee. Right? If you're going to go anywhere near that fire, that quality or depth of transmutation in your own consciousness, then what's the fee? Everyone and everything that you believed in. But in his case, his marriage didn't fall apart. You know, he got rid of his businesses because he was disinterested in running, you know, beady shops. And at the end of his life, I guess he had enough money with the support of some, you know, generous persons to keep things modestly afloat. But inwardly, whatever that suggests, I mean, his world was obliterated. Right?
So it would seem. Yeah.
So it would seem. Yeah. You're
I mean,
looking
certainly
at.
by all expression it was.
Yeah,
Even though, like you say, he would continue on with certain routines.
that's right.
Almost out of just like this is the habit this body seems to have.
This is what we do.
Let it roll, you know. It's like another thing when faced with infinite choice, just go with what you know.
You grab a cymbal, you grab a cymbal, you grab a drum, and let's do these bhajans.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, master. Great idea.
Yeah.
Fire it up.
It seems to work for this mind body. You know, it's-
Mm-hmm. I think that speaks to the, you know, the Borg metaphor. That what you thought belonged to you, no matter how distasteful it or you may have become, you are not necessarily standing in line for the obliteration of self.
What do you mean you're not necessarily standing in line? I don't understand exactly.
You're not lined up. You're not gung-ho. You're not all in.
Well, there's few takers.
You'd be
that's
all
for
in
sure.
if you were all in.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's only metaphorically worthwhile speaking about because it can easily be misunderstood as if you are operating through agency, self-will, preference, presumption, and what you're ready to do or not do with your unfolding spiritual curiosities.
Well, certainly the look in his eye would be enough to put many, many seekers off. Because the
This
look
is
in
the
his
little
eye,
short guy, Kevin.
Yeah.
And in one video, he almost
That's
looks
like a-
like he's has a diaper on
You know.
or something.
Yeah, there's the diaper guys
That's
too.
why his name came up, I'm so far. Which one?
yeah. But, he,
It's a little short guy. He
Yeah.
comes across
Mhm.
this little short. Yeah.
He's dead.
YouTube is just such a
For all
thing.
for all of
YouTube.
for all of those years of
you gotta believe.
that's right. His magnificent, yogic expression ended up like they all end up.
Well, what's interesting though, is here we have an example of somebody that followed the advice of his guru. Now, isn't that interesting? Because, it sounds like the guru maybe followed a similar path from his guru. And you know that stuff better than I do.
Yeah.
But as opposed to people that somehow wake up, boom, what's going on? They research, of course, Eckhart Tolle is the best example. They research like crazy and they say, okay, here's what I think what I figured out.
Yeah.
Do this, that. I mean, I don't mean to be as condemning as it sounds, but basically
Mhm.
that seems to be the approach.
Hmm.
But so I'm just comparing that with somebody like Nisargadatta, who just sort of is like, boom, boom, he's just punching you,
Yes.
it's,
With, loving gloves.
yes. Whatever, however you want to,
But not apologetic gloves.
no.
Yeah.
He's just letting you have it. He's not holding anything back,
No?
and he's not saying, well, here, I understand that, but there's this, I mean, he's just telling it straight, I think. Although I'm sure he talked to different people in different ways too. Just like,
Oh, sure.
but of course, my mind went to Borg and Star Trek and stuff like that. And I'm remembering the one Star Trek where they went on a planet and they're all just sweeties. Everybody was a sweetie. I mean, just the loving, And I think, is that the one? I may be mixing up two episodes.
Makes sense.
There was one
Mix up 3.
where there
There's a woman that turned into a beast and took all the salt out of your body, left
Yeah,
marks on
that's
your
right.
face.
But there's one where there was a parasite that
Mm-hmm.
thrived on you somehow, and in return it gave you a really good vibe. And everybody was so sweet to each other, and
Sounds like republicanism.
yeah, what?
Gives
But
you a
of
good
course,
feeling.
Kirk was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then that's where he freaked out on Spock, and Spock jolted out of it. But the idea of living in a state of peaceful harmony,
Yes.
maybe that's not the total answer. Maybe it's not just peaceful harmony, because that's what it seemed to be.
Yeah.
Not that storyline should hold any credibility for anything.
Well, they did the best they could to portray what might look like a euphoric way of living,
Right.
and then pull the rug out from under you because it turned out to be
Sure.
right parasitic. But then you're left with, another curious conundrum. It's like, I'm not sure I care that it's
Exactly.
parasitic,
And I think that's what
'Cause
James
I'm-
was saying.
living euphorically, joyfully, sustainably. Yeah. This, right? This will tease you all the way. It will tease you all the way at every turn, at every gate, every insight, every moment of sanguine, right? Reflection, emptiness, one with the world, one with the universe. It's there, it's there, it's there. It will tease you. It will trip you up. Right? Last Temptation of Christ was another well-performed metaphor of that which will trip you up. You see, we tend to look at these things, right, through the lens of one's persona, one's body, one's life experience, and examining the contrasts of all the shit that, we've had to endure and are likely to continue to have to endure, that creates tension and bracing and uncertainty and all manner of angst and disappointment. So we're looking at this, hoping for some kind of amelioration of the vicissitudes of living. So many people bring that hopefulness to the so-called spiritual search, right? Some kind of medication, cosmic medication. But what if it's not that? Oh, what if the unfolding of one's adventure can no longer be defined or punctuated by the two things that the Buddha committed to speaking about, which was suffering and the end of suffering? What if it goes off topic, right? What if your liberation, your interest in what reality might or might not be, what if it goes off topic? And now you no longer have somebody's Bible to refer to figure out where the fuck you are in the continuum of present dissolution, present wonderment.
Then you go outside.
Say again?
You just go outside and start walking.
You take the extra,
Yeah. Take a stroll and a bit of pizza shop if you're lucky. I'll have a pepperoni slice with a lot of hot pepper flakes. But this, tends to infuriate or annoy persons that haven't begun to make a more, let's call it, adult peace with their own inconsequentiality. You want to remain in the game, consequential, known, found, listened to, realizable, vetted, validated. And so you start stumbling into something that is present in your experience, but goes off topic. And you can get, annoyed at a minimum. Because now your capacity for feeling, being, we'll call it that, has matured to the point where you can actually feel being. You can get a few moments of rest, actually, in being, and you become annoyed now with the imposition of context and content. You're still miserable, but now with something else. Oh, shit. I thought that this path would relieve me of, the annoyance of myself. It hangs with you to till the pear falls from the tree. And what do we mean by, the clever suggestion of a pear falling from a tree, from ripe to available for, varmints and insects and humans to partake of your sweetness.
Mhm.
Right? We still might insist on caveats. We might still be bargaining, have some bargaining chips left for what she'll do to us as we slide away. We will insist on and cling to anything at all, then become inconsequential beyond recognition. That's the fee.
Yeah.
That's the fee. You become inconsequential beyond recognition, beyond return. That might have a different implication than the end of suffering.
Suffering doesn't seem to count so much in that scenario.
Suffering can just fuck off.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. If you come to some conclusion, we were listening to some Batgap stuff. It wasn't quite 4 a.m. It was still a reasonable hour, but you win. You hear certain refrains coming out of the mouths of certain interviewees about what they found or didn't find, or how they would articulate some kind of finality or great relief, right, for their realization. And so their message becomes kind of repetitive, if not frustratingly, boringly repetitive. Doesn't say anything refreshing, stimulating, or adventurous. It's just another refrain. And the refrain might have be friendly to, neo-Advaitism. The refrains might be friendly to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The refrain might be friendly to Tony Parsons, because someone is now, repeating and mirroring the chosen memes and vocabulary that he uses to talk about not self. And you're like, fuck, I've heard this before. And like you said, it was a good tickle when it first came across my airwaves, but I have somehow habituated to it. It doesn't stimulate me the way it once did. And your natural curiosity then, your natural inclination would be, what next?
and after further investigation, come to the conclusion there's really not a what next, you know?
It's pretty strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't think you need to establish a baseline about your so-called condition or non-condition when there's no next. There's no what's next. Yeah. You don't need to say anything about yourself as if you're in possession of some kind of understanding. It's so much less than that. Nobody really wants to talk with you if you are non-demonstrably evaporating. They would rather be yelled at by Nirsagadata than have to cope with their own evaporation. That's the fee. If you have nothing to add to the human conversation, right? You've lost something. Something's been taken from you. And that doesn't mean someone is going to walk up to you at Redner's and say, wow, what the fuck are you on? You know, you're not necessarily going to become a noticed, sought after, elucidating person or celebrity. You're not about to, let's say, go into hiding in a cave for long enough for people to discover you. Because when you need to go to Wawa, you go to Wawa. You know? Right? Yeah, right. Just go someplace and wait for us to discover you because you're riddled with insects and you haven't eaten or, you know, showered in weeks and you're in a...
You must be the real thing.
You must be the real thing because you're in absolute samadhi and the cats have taken over. But you see, these are the comic books, right? That are handed down from generation to generation, and everyone wants to be on the Sri Ramana Maharshi train. Whether it's the Punja train or the Andrew Cohen train or the Gangaji train or the Muji train, you know, or all of the other weird Om Tat Sat motherfuckers out there that claim to have been enlightened through their association with Ramana Maharshi. Peacock sodomist. Get a lot of feedback for that comment.
Yeah.
But you see,
you know how to push those buttons.
oh yeah. Well, you know, I'm a devotional creature by nature, so I know all the ways that I'm capable of infuriating
Yes.
my own sensibilities.
Yes, I'm sure.
I mean, we have the benefit, you know, the thrill of a marvelous, marvelous, entertaining culture of guruism. Remarkable persons transcendent of the shackles of the world, nonplussed by the curious orange hue of Donald Trump's skin, right? Nonplussed. And, you know, we gravitate toward these persons. I mean, the church is, right, is a cult of the celebration of the life of Jesus, who was a transcendent figure. Fearless and kind, died for our sins, so he has a powerful harmonic of compassion and sacrifice. He was a miracle worker. He walked on water. He healed the sick. You know, people threw their canes out from behind the curtain and walked again. And then we commit ourselves to canonizing other persons of spiritual accomplishment who had to have demonstrated not one, but at least two third-party verifiable miracles, so that they're worthy of our stamp of worship. So this silliness persists, this false sense of hallowed holiness persists because we are naive, we are gullible, we are doomed by the way that we conduct ourselves spiritually and secularly and in every other fashion. And this cult of, right, the miraculous permeates the Buddhist consciousness, it permeates the Hindu consciousness, it permeates Eckhart Tolle, it permeates Bat Gap, right? It permeates Berkeley and Marin, San Rafael.
You're talking about rules. Stay away from San Rafael.
What's San Rafael?
That's a lovely boutique city in Marin
It's
County.
where Peter Lilly lived.
You mean San Rafael?
San Rafael, California. I wasn't picking on Peter and Luli, though I enjoy picking on Peter and Luli, of course. They would do the same with me, I hope. No, I'm probably not. I'm too inconsequential for anyone to get any mileage picking on me.
Not true at Pebble, though, that's for sure.
Well, I handed that to them on a silver plate. Here, please denigrate me. I'll give you as much ammunition as you need. An orgy of ammunition. I'll give you an orgy of ammunition so that you can denigrate me in the way that you just love to.
That's done. Stop it.
That's done. Stop it.
No.
86. What is it that we crave? What is it that we hope, to get from the master, whomever the master may be, man, woman, inanimate object, teddy bear, polar bear, teaching of some kind, right? Life extension promises, immortality, right? What are we really, really looking for? And I'm not sure if we know.
Not a fucking clue.
Not a fucking clue, which is kind of neat. Really, I mean, it's a little off-putting, but, in this room, several times a year, a shamanic group comes together, and the School of Sacred Ministries comes together, and the Night Sky Sangha shows up occasionally, and there's even a Waldorf school in this very room that teaches children how to live in a pastel naked way. And you can read conspiratorial stuff on the web that holds who's the founder of Waldorf? Rudolf Steiner, as some kind of weird oligarchical fascist engineer of mind control.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so many people celebrate the life and teachings of Rudolf Steiner as being a Renaissance thinker in terms of, cultural wisdom, cultural dignity, and education models. But of course, you'll find stuff that places Steiner more or less right next to Satan.
That's just one facet of them, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, everything that, we hold, near and dear is fraught with something that goes south. How about the Crusades? How about the marvelous treatment of women and children under the influence and roof of the Quran? I mean, when the fabric of the hysteria of your belief system starts wearing thin and unraveling, we will, in a total panic, scamper for the next fulfillment that gives us a context that fulfills our need for a context, because the one that we had a minute ago has clearly gone south, is failing.
Fascinating.
Right? This is what we do. And everyone shows up with, this happened to me, and now I feel this way. I don't suffer anymore, or I have vitality, I have high self-esteem, I have compassion, I have flexibility, I have, the capacity to attract wealth, a good parking spot, a fantastic haircut. I can get through a JYN worksheet with the best of them. I can counsel people, I can heal people. Stare at me, I'm Brazzo. And your spinal bifida will resolve. I mean, this is a fucking carny. And we are carny folk. This is a fucking carny, and we are carny folk.
Nope, on a tightrope.
Yeah. And even in the midst of what an absolute hallucination it all is, I can enroll in, self-criticism, self-doubt, sabotage, frustration, distraction, right? All kinds of behaviors that looks like I'm interfering with the optimization of my own mind, my own resonance. Why do I do this? Why am I? Why am I? The way that I am I.
Why do I proceed in this fashion?
Why do I proceed and persist in the fashion that I do? Because someone gave you a ticket to the carny and you came through the gate. Yay! Funnel cake!
The smell of the carny.
Blue ribbon pigs! Yay!
Jeez.
Most of the consternation that we dream is we're just having a quarrel with ourselves in a ghostly realm.
So, yeah,
right?
I guess.
I mean, feel it.
Sometimes it seems to break through the surface, and it's almost like wait a minute here.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, that's right.
What's happened? Where I'm like, wait, is this really somebody else, or is this just me expressing back?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Right.
Because it's too perfect. You know?
Yeah, that's too convincing.
It's like somebody slipped up because I'm seeing it, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's just interesting that it is, it seems to be totally externalized. Yet, something fishy about it. Yeah.
You know, driving in traffic or watching TV or being in that, you know, going into or moving out of sleep stage or being at the office, right? We are living in a highly pixelated, three-dimensional, right? A delusion of oncoming traffic, oncoming psychotraffic stimulation. And you could say the quality of attention is, as we all know, remarkably easily distractible. And so we veer off into one fantasy after another, one illusory context and content after another, as we just kind of get through the day, get through the life, take a nibble out of the to-do list when we can, which only seems to get filled up with 5 errands for the 3 that I just completed.
God, I hate that shit.
The fucking to-do list never goes down,
Ever.
you know? And we're like, oh, I wonder if there's a pattern here. The to-do list never goes down. It only goes up. Even if you have a whole truckload of one-liners from the Big Book, from Course in Miracles, from Course in Love, from the Upanishads, right? From the Pali Canon, from the Vishtushta, Vashtarshta, you know, Karsha Varnashkas.
I haven't run into that one myself.
Yeah, those are good ones. So you have at your disposal an encyclopedia of one-liners when it comes to, you know, spiritual or secular truisms or implications. As if these one-liners actually make a difference in your experience. You are what you're looking for. That which is looking up. I mean, it goes on and on, right? It just goes on and on. There are people that know how to quote the Bible, right? To the point of giving you, you know, diarrhea. People that know how to quote Course in Miracles or Course in Love or even these Vedas and Upanishads and Buddhist literature from 12 different Asian and, you know, Eurasian cultures. The Sufis will chant and sing and twirl and practice a peaceful form of Mohammedism, of Islam, and they will give you, you know, like Baha'i. So you can sing Hummingbird and Summer Breeze. Whatever happened to Seals and Crofts? Shouldn't they be like touring with the Monkees or something? You know, I mean, I'll go see Mickey Dolenz and Peter Tork, but what about Seals and Crofts? Where are they?
David Cassidy would tour with the Monkees.
David Cassidy should tour with the Monkees.
Or with somebody else, really more.
Good boy.
Davy Jones is dead, and Mike Nesmith is just off the radar when it comes to, being a musical celebrity. So you're left with Mickey and Pete and backup players. I'll take it. If I can hear The Last Train to Clarksville live, count me in. I had the privilege of meeting Mickey Dolenz in LA. He was pitching a possible TV show to
Really?
my employers at the time.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Mickey, it's me, Jeff. He didn't take any notice. But you're a monkey. And I'm a monkey lover.
Yeah, there's a monkey.
Show when I was little.
Oh, do you remember it?
I used to watch it when I was little.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Just say, hey, monkeys, kids and monkeys.
I only knew that
We're
part.
too
I didn't
busy
watch the show.
singing.
To put anybody down.
See? We know it all. We're just
I hate
trying
it.
to be friendly.
I never liked it.
I don't remember any part of it other than that song.
Oh, it's just.
And I didn't watch it actually. I was too busy with the Brady Bunch, or I haven't mentioned that before.
The Partridge.
You're too busy singing and to put anybody down.
Wish I could say the same about myself.
I'm just having images roll by of like Shirley Jones and the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch.
Michael Landon
Witch.
and Haas.
Oh, yeah.
Is there another planet? There's got to be better TV.
Those shows
Another
on.
planet.
They're on like multiple times a day.
We talk about these extraterrestrials from time to time, and there's UFO conferences all over the place, but nobody's ever like shared some of their entertainment. I mean, what do they do? Tip cattle and probe humans? I mean, they don't watch UFO TV. They don't have what about their musical instruments? What do they do to keep busy? Wander around Earth, evading detection because of anti-gravity machines. They've got to have something better to do with their time than visiting this loathsome place just to tip a cow.
There's cornfield and
Yeah, they can run around the cornfields and play hide and seek.
make little pretty designs.
That's right. Yeah, really. Oh, good. The sorghum crop is finally mature. Let's get out the cosmic Etch-a-Sketch and throw some cool geometric patterns down in the fields. Is that what you guys do for gigs? Cosmic geometric Etch-a-Sketch. Well, we sure got some answers tonight. We sure nailed this down.
So what you talk about tonight? Same thing we talk about every night. How to take over the world.
How to take over the
I had
world.
Jack Kaplan last night for a couple of people.
What?
I rewatched it. Or I did.
I've never watched it. I've only ever listened to it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't watch it.
But must be even worse when you watch it. Huh?
Well, Suzanne sent out a little
That's what I
link.
was watching.
She watched Michio Kushi's son, Norio. Norio Kushi.
Don't know the
That's
A
like
man who
days
loves-
ago or last week or something.
What did he say? He said he loves wheels.
One of the fathers of macrobiotics. He
Oh,
was up in Massachusetts.
The principal founder of the macrobiotic movement.
And actually, George Osalo
Oh, Osawa, that I escaped, yeah.
Joe was the one who.
Popularized it.
Huh.
Anyway, this was one of his sons who had an experience
Woke up driving a truck.
truck driving.
The interview was two-dimensional. But
What a surprise.
but that's where they go.
He's very Japanese, actually.
Yeah.
Their family is very.
So there was nothing new.
I haven't watched the whole thing, but I was trying to remember who else I watched to see if you had seen this guy.
I mean,
And what I
watch too
remember
much.
about this other guy was that he spent some time doing heavy drugs like heroin. And then he got the whatever, and then he had some call to stop the drugs and move on into the seeker life, I guess I should say. I don't know. But then he ended up finally with somebody named Delano who did some sort of silent thing with him.
Hmm.
So we watched her. She's a German girl with red hair.
She looks a lot like the girl in the Dragon Tattoo
Everybody looked
movies.
so solemn last night. I was watching. I'm like, you guys are terrible salespeople.
You know, you like if what's being presented is the
The example, the
example or culmination
Yeah.
of realized understanding, it's like I'll pass.
Yeah.
There's
So
no,
it's like-
there's like no playfulness. There's no sense of humor. There's no
Oh,
tickle.
but
There's
she
no
was
tongue in cheek.
Plenty pleasant for his
Well, he
family,
was.
actually.
Well, he was
like
absolutely.
lighthearted.
He was pleasant and milk toast like.
Well, close like, yeah.
But that's just me, being too busy singing to put anybody down.
Right.
Song's gonna be stuck.
Uh-oh, we're fucked. I can take some heavy drugs
Do a
before I go to bed.
Lady Gaga singing whatever she's saying that people love. God bless America.
Uh-huh. You mean the Star Spangled Banner before the
Is that-
NFL
I
Super
forget.
Bowl?
Didn't she do God Bless America? Or
Oh, say, can
is that the
you
flag?
see?
Spangled Banner.
The worst
That's
American
the
ever.
Star Spangled Banner. Oh,
I
say
think it
can you
is, yeah.
Jesus.
Hmm.
Any questions before we close up a scintillating conversation about spiritual accomplishment?
I think you've answered all my questions.
We're good tonight?
Go in peace.
Go in peace.
It's very Catholic.
What is spiritual accomplishment?
Yeah, right.
Praise
You want to fire that up, do you?
Just kidding.
Oh, I'm
just kidding.
sorry. Beth always says, where are the envelopes? And I say, oh, I've got them, and then I don't put them
Oh, shit.
out. Thanks. Pebble Hill thanks you for your generous contribution.
Come on, Denise, time to get up.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this evening's program.
Look,